So, hello everybody. I'm going to hand you over to our Director of the Postgraduate Office, Ms. Dorothy Stevens. Dorothy, are you there?
Yes, thank you, Alison.
Okay, great. I'm just going to share the slides. Right. Would you like to begin, Dorothy?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Alison. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this session, this information session from the Division for Research Development on postgraduate research development and supervisor support. I'm Dorothy Stevens. I'm the Director of the Postgraduate Office, and I will be making this presentation with my colleague Alison Buchholz, who's the head of the Postgraduate Skills Development Program. And so just a very, very brief, quick overview of the Postgraduate Office. We have different areas of responsibility, and we're also in a little bit in a state of reorganization. Sorry, Ali, would you mind just going back to the previous slide? Okay, let's just leave it there. Okay, so in today's session, I'm going to be talking about the Postgraduate Office's roles. We will talk about training for supervisors of postgraduate researchers, some of the resources available for supervisors, and then we will also give you some insight into some yearbook changes that affect postgraduate researchers, both students and also their supervisors. Alison? Okay, so in Postgraduate Office, we have a couple of areas that we focus our attention on. We do a lot of cross-institutional work on providing postgraduate studies support in the form of access to information through the website of the program offering of the university, making sure that prospective students have access to the correct information about different programs that they might be considering. And so that is all dealt with by the colleagues in our study support environment. I'll give you a little bit more details in a moment. Then we have a focus on our joint degree relationships. These are all at postgraduate level with different international partners. Then the very big focus of today's discussion is our postgraduate skills development program, which we will tell you much more about. And then our postgraduate funding office, which is what I was referring to earlier on. We're in a little bit of a state of reorganization, but that currently is part of the postgraduate office, but focuses on postgraduate bursaries, very many funding opportunities available for our postgraduate students. And yeah, so I will explain all of that to you. And we're all falling within the Division for Research Development. Thank you. So in our little team that focuses on our studies support, we support postgraduate students, both those that are currently doing their undergraduate with us, technically our current students, advising them on postgraduate study options for the future, as well as students from externally about how they could articulate into the university. So we have a big focus on that, driven through our through our website. We also have an in-house specialist service in conducting credential evaluations for international applicants that allows academic departments to consider candidates from elsewhere in terms of their eligibility for postgraduate study at Stellenbosch. Just general assessment of eligibility of inquiries for admission to postgraduate studies and advising, so it's very much tied to that. And then supporting students both enrolling and in joint and collaborative degrees, but then also from time to time where the necessary foundations are in place, setting up new agreements for the benefit of joint degree students. So in terms of the broader team working and focusing on postgraduate matters, and also newly onto postdoctoral matters under the leadership of Mr. Nugent Lewis. This is the range of colleagues who are working every day with postgraduate students in some or other way. And also actually with academic departments, and in terms of making that which is available, helping students to navigate the system, providing workshops and training opportunities, making sure their bursaries are paid, and then also dealing with some policy matters, systems matters, and of course, the postdoctoral office, who is obviously involved with the enrollment of postdoctoral fellows, the payment of their bursaries, and so forth. So in terms of the study support team, we are devising policies relating to postgraduate students and postgraduate supervision, and providing information and advice on these policies, rules, and regulations. Where necessary, they are being reviewed. Where necessary, new elements need to be devised. At the moment, the Vice Dean, the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Teaching and Learning and Research, Innovation and Postgraduate Studies, those two DVCs have instructed us to work on an update to an institutional rule around progression for masters and doctoral students. So a lot of that kind of work is what we are busy with in the Postgraduate Office. Also training staff users to maintain postgraduate records on the student information system. And in this respect, I'm sure you've all been feeling pain, and we are going to be starting with a new system very shortly, replacing an old information system for the capturing of supervision on postgraduate records. We will also be, we also, as I've mentioned earlier, make visible and host the postgraduate offering of the university to prospective students. And in this regard, the team is often in contact with academic departments to make sure that matters around closing dates and so forth for postgraduate programs are correct for the next intake, the offering, as well as the types of additional supporting documentation people require when reviewing a candidate for postgraduate studies. And then, as I mentioned previously, we're negotiating our new and existing joint and collaborative degrees through the Postgraduate Office. Okay, then our Postgraduate Funding Office under Nugent Lewis's directorship is managing the full postgraduate scholarship portfolio at Stellenbosch University. And this involves all of the internal and external funding instruments, internal one being the postgraduate scholarship program, which is our sort of prestige instrument which is handled very much in collaboration with the faculties. Sorry, Alison, could you just go back one more? Then also administering departmental bursaries. And yes, this is very much an area that, once again, we're institutionally are feeling a tremendous amount of pain at the moment. The bursary system has only recently come on board. And the Postgraduate Funding Office are working through a tremendous backlog now of getting things paid out and getting the system to work. And yes, we really do appreciate people's patience with that. Just generally supporting good financial management and supporting that for students as well in terms of different wraparound support, interventions that are offered through the office as well. And then big responsibility to develop and implement institutional policies relating to bursaries and other scholarship instruments. As I mentioned earlier, the flagship funding instrument of the PSP, which is managed with faculties and administered and paid out through the bursaries. And then I actually want to hand over to the postgraduate skills development team in the next slide, because this is the group of colleagues who are going to be telling you about the general supervision, development support, and student supervision and student postgraduate student support and development opportunities that are available through the Postgraduate Office. Over to you, Alison. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dorothy. Yes, so I'm going to be focusing on the type of support that we offer staff and supervisors, so more a focus on staff. Today's session is part one of 2 sessions we're doing for our research division, and part 2, which is going to be on the 26th of March, is going to elaborate or expand on exactly what we do in postgraduate schools in terms of workshops and resources. So I'm going to jog through it today, and it'll be elaborated on in March. And I'm also going to focus on some of the resources that and training that supervisors can get. If you are a postgraduate and you're attending this meeting, it's still valuable to you. You're still peer of supports and resources, but I also do encourage you to join again on the 26th of March. Okay, so myself and my colleague Kristen McLeod and Deleandre Uithaler form a small team within our postgraduate office called the Postgraduate Skills Development. It's a program that's been running since 2011, and it's grown in leaps and bounds. Currently, or over the last few years and continuing, it's being funded by our DHET University Capacity Development Programs project, the Postgraduate Pipeline project. And so the PGP, we run the Postgraduate Skills Program under the PGP project, is supplemental to the type of support that students will receive within their own faculties or departments. So the goal of the UCDP project is to provide research-appropriate skills and knowledge to our postgraduates, primarily masters and doctoral students, but we do also support honours students, especially those who are doing more extensive research projects. And then also looking at professional skills for future careers in the sense of what Dorothy alluded to earlier, the wraparound support. We've got some of our training is on confident public speaking or project management. Yeah, so not only research specific, but anything related to what a student would be expected to do in their role as postgraduate student. So they would be expected to present their proposals, so that would be presentations, perhaps to attend or present at conferences, etc., etc. So the reason why we see the postgraduate pipeline as being important is that I need to perhaps take a step back here, is that part of our program is that we also do a needs analysis once every 3 years. So the UCDP project cycle is 3 years. And so we're going to be launching a survey over the next few months to postgraduate doctoral students primarily, but also master's students. And so it's for us to understand what our students are looking for, where they perhaps feel there's a gap in what they're getting between their faculty and institutional support. Yeah, so it helps us to respond accordingly. It also helps the institution, ensures that the postgraduate students are more informed and skilled in research professional areas. So to enable them, and it's an enabler for students to take greater responsibility for their own development. So this is the philosophy behind our PGP program. So how do we support you as staff? As Dorothy mentioned, our office provides information on postgraduate policies, regulations, and training. But within our program, we also, I particularly give information about the academic research integrity policies, avoiding plagiarism, etc. We also present postgraduate support orientation sessions on request from faculties and departments. Then I present a avoiding plagiarism session also on request from departments, and then also on a regular basis receive queries from postgraduates needing assistance with their Turnitin reports, etc. And then something important, which some of you as if you are a postgraduate supervisor, might not be aware that we have a supervisor training course that we run. We assist our research development by presenting these supervisor training courses, and they are presented twice a year, so typically over the May-June examination period, and then again over October-November examinations. Those who are interested in attending or reading up more about this, you do need to be a staff member who is working with postgraduate students in a supervisory role in order to be eligible. You may also be a postdoctoral fellow, but you will find more information about it there. There are no costs for you to attend. We cover it, or actually I should say our research division covers it from their UCDP project for early career academic development. Then, so this is an introductory course, and it's presented by Professor Chrissy Bowie. She was formerly a DVC at Rhodes University. She's now currently an extraordinary professor linked to the university through the Center for Higher and Adult Education. And she also does some training for CREST, also on a supervisor training, but the DARD course, short course. And then a co-presenter is Dr. Nompilo Chuma, and she's also linked to the education faculty. She's also with the Center for Higher and Adult Education. So we've got two very experienced supervisors presenting to Stellenbosch University students, introducing them to the supervisor journey and what their role entails throughout from beginning till end. Then sometimes we are asked what other courses on supervision are available. So CREST, as I mentioned, offers a short course online. It's quite an intensive one. It's a little bit more advanced, so you can have a look on their website to see what their course entails. And then the Center for Higher and Adult Education also offer supervisor courses, very often sort of zooming in on a specific element of supervision. So you can also have a look at their website. The difference between, well, not apart from the fact that ours is introductory and these are a bit more advanced, is that there are costs involved for the CREST and Center for Higher and Adult Education. Yeah, we believe that Stellenbosch University staff members shouldn't have to pay for their training and supervision. It is part of our role to provide that. Right. So getting back to what our program does, I've just mentioned how we support staff. How we support postgraduates is by providing information and advice also on policies and regulations, and also where else they can find support at Stellenbosch University. And then we present the orientation sessions on request from their departments to inform the postgraduates. We attend to plagiarism concerns if a student has got themselves into a pickle, and we can advise. We can also assist with interpreting the Turnitin reports. So it's sort of a dual role. We support staff in this role as well as the postgraduate students. And then we run our institutional postgraduate skills program, and we create resources for postgraduate students. And these can all be found on our postgraduate skills development program's website. But as I alluded to in the beginning, my colleagues Kristen and Deleandri will be tackling the workshops and resources and additional support in our part 2 of this DRD information session on the 26th of March. Just for interest's sake, this is a snapshot of who typically attends from faculties, and this is for our postgraduate skills program workshops. We have had a major influx in attendance from our medical and health sciences faculty, which is wonderful since we took our whole offering online during COVID. It's afforded students who very seldomly come to Stellenbosch campus the opportunity to attend our training and workshops. We've also made our workshops, well, to a large extent, asynchronous. Students can access the course material Unlearn once they've registered after attending a training, and they're able to go back and look at the material and sharpen their skills that they've learned. There are typically live online 1 or 2 sessions per training, but just the fact that the student doesn't have to physically come in and take a whole day's leave makes a huge difference. So yeah, of course, faculties, you get large faculties and smaller faculties, and you also get faculties, for example, like law, that have quite a different approach to research support and development, and many faculties have their own tailored programs and support. Yeah, so hence there being less attendance from law, for example. All right, so at the beginning of the slides, we indicated that we were also going to mention resources that are available to Stellenbosch University staff, particularly supervisors in their roles, supervising postgraduate researchers. And one of these is the Memorandum of Understanding, which is compulsory, that all postgraduate Stellenbosch University students who are doing research must sign a type of Memorandum of Understanding at the beginning of their research. It's it's an official formal process that's in place. And then we advise that students and supervisors return and revisit the MOU at the beginning of each year, sometimes even in the middle of a year if one of the parties discovers that the expectations or timelines that they initially agreed to was not working out, and they need to renegotiate. But we can't impress on you enough how important this process is. It's shouldn't be seen as just a matter of filling in a form and saying, yes, I've read the code of conduct and the roles and responsibilities of students and supervisors in the yearbook. Yes, you should do that, but you need to go a step further and to actually consider how the project is going to be managed, and what roles who's going to play which roles. Any preconceived ideas or any misaligned expectations can be ironed out from the start, or can be adapted and adjusted where necessary. So we recently revised our MOU template that we house on our Postgraduate Office website, or PG Skills website, and we've created PDF documents that, well, 2 of them are fillable. What we have discovered is that because our funding, the students who receive postgraduate funding, especially for the PSP scholarship, it's compulsory. Most of the scholarships it's required that a student signs some sort of MOU, and we've been getting the odd, reporting that students are finding it difficult to fill this in, but we've discovered that you can't fill it in on your cell phone or your mobile. The student does need to be on a PC in order to fill in these fillable forms that we created, in the hopes that it would be easier and more streamlined for students and supervisors to use. So what we're going to do is we're also putting together, or we're just tidying up the Word version, and we'll pop that onto our website as well, so that anybody who wants to use the MOU form and the expectations and timelines document, but are finding the PDF isn't helpful, we're going to have the Word versions on our website as well in the next couple of days. Okay, what we've done too is we've created a sort of a bundle, an MOU bundle And these are, some of it's explaining why it's important to establish and to sign an MOU. It's highlighting or bringing to light that there is such a thing as a supervisor student code of conduct in the yearbook that needs to be read and agreed to, or at least taken cognizance of. And then we also bring to the attention the doctoral graduate attributes by the Centre for Council for Higher and Adult Higher Education exists for doctoral students, and that doctoral candidates should know that there are these 9 doctoral graduate attributes that they're going to be primarily. The idea is that they need to acquire these 9 by the time they've finished their degree, by the time they complete, provide evidence that they're able to do so. So number 4 and 5 are these fillable forms or documents that are alluded to or spoke about just now. Many departments do have their own memorandum of understanding document or their own bundle with support documentation. So you need to find out, if you are a student listening in on this session, whether your department has a specific MOU that they want you to discuss and sign, or whether you can go ahead and use one of our templates that are there to guide you. All right, so what I can mention before we sign off, I did mention that we've got this part 2 of the session in March. What I want to just leave you with is to remind you, there have been some announcements about yearbook changes. There was an announcement in our Postgraduate Times newsletter towards the end of last year, as well as, of course, if you attended any of the Senate meetings, the approval of the new thesis title page and the new requirements for thesis abstracts that is in the 2024 yearbook. So I encourage you to go and have a look at what is in the yearbook. Look under the examination section for masters, and then also for doctoral students for the process or the procedure for examination. And you will find that they talk about the new thesis title page. Also take note that from a copyright or from a sort of intellectual property standpoint, one should only put or use this official formal title page when you are submitting your final product to Sun Scholar. So our students need to bear in mind that when they submit their thesis for examination, it's still a work in progress. So according to our Innovus colleagues, it shouldn't have the university's logo on it yet, because it's not the final product. Putting the logo on and inserting this title page when you submit your final product to Sun Scholar after examination is an indication that that this is now the official final product. Then you will also see in the yearbook that there has been a change in the font type for theses and dissertations. Students are it's required to use Calibri or Cambria. Please don't be concerned now that you might have a student submitting to Sun Scholar now for graduation in March, April. The Sun Scholar team, I'm almost certain, won't expect students to change a document that's all in Times New Roman, for example, to Cambria. It will affect their layout and their formatting, but going forward, for for the December graduation and going forward, all theses and dissertations should abide by the new font type, the new thesis title. And then, importantly, the abstracts requirements have changed, and you will see that it's now saying that your thesis abstract should be in the language that the thesis was written in, and then you may, of 500 words, and then you may add an additional abstract or two in another language. And specifically, if you are a joint degree student, if, for example, your other university is in France and the language they speak is French, then your second abstract would be in French. So there's a little bit of leeway there now, and it's all linking with the university's transformation and language policies. So a little bit of pressure off students who, for example, don't speak or can't speak Afrikaans, or having to put together an abstract just for the sake of having it in English and Afrikaans. It also, we're hoping, is going to add to the quality, improve the quality of the abstracts, the second abstracts, if people are okay with the language that they need to write it in. All right, so that was quite a mouthful in the end. Dorothy, do you have anything to add to what I was saying?
Not really, Alison. I think maybe if we can leave a little bit of time for questions. Yes, and just you've pointed to the yearbook changes. The other aspect of the yearbook that changed was the rules around conversions from master's to doctoral, and yes, I think that was about all. But no, I don't have anything to add so long.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So what I wanted to say is that I see there is there something in the chat? I think there might be. The choice of Calabria and Cambria for thesis and dissertations didn't come about totally arbitrarily. The branding unit of the university and SunScholar and our office were involved in discussions, and Calabria and Cambria are both compatible across the board, and those who are using LaTeX, apparently Cambria is very user friendly, and it's also lends itself to formulae, etc., etc. So there is some rhyme and reason behind the changes. But as I said, we don't want people to get into a panic if they've been working on their thesis or dissertation for a couple of years now, and they've got to the end, and they now need to submit to SunScholar in the next few weeks. Yes, I see that Professor Brzezinski has their hand up.
Yes, thank you, Alison, and thank you, Dorothy, for a very informative session. I have a question about students that are not yet registered, but are spending a few months up to a year to write their proposal. So they are not formally registered. They don't have a student email address. This morning I had a problem with Teams. I created Teams for the student or the candidate, and they can't get access to that. But that's another thing I'll sort out with IT. I think, I just wondered, would your unit also be offering some assistance if the student is not yet formally registered? And that is, I think that's the only question at this stage that I have. Thank you.
Dorothy, would you like to?
I'm happy to answer that. Heidi, unfortunately, no. We cannot offer support to students who are not formally registered students of the university, we do have to account for that which how we spend the budget that we receive to the DHET. In terms of offering courses, training opportunities, developmental opportunities, and the participants do need to be registered students of the university.
Thanks, Dorothy. Yes, I thought so. While I'm talking, maybe just a quick one. We've had an issue lately. It's a once-off, I think, but it might be a problem later on, or some other people might have had this problem. And that is that students who use professional copy editors, sometimes the copy editor does more than just copy editing. And what is the university stance on that? I cannot find anything in policies, faculty level, or but maybe I've missed it. Do you know of anything that I can warn the students about before they, especially here right at the end, when they start asking the professional copy editor, for instance, to cut the number of pages or cut the number of words because it's too long? That, you know, for me, that goes over to more than just copy editing. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, so we do have a list of we call them unvetted editors on our website under resources. However, we do add at the top, we've added a link to an article that we have a couple of experts in the arts faculty who, you know, their expertise, their field is in editing and translation. And yeah, Professor Amanda Lawrence Murray has written a piece, and I think it's as important for students and editors to realize that the only editing they should be doing is what we call copy editing, is looking at the quality of a language, making a flow of sentence, you know, flow more smoothly. But any content change or even a structural change is not above board. But there is no policy as such. There's guidelines. So we've got this article on our website. I can share it with you. Perhaps my colleague Kristen can add the link in the chat here.
Thanks. Yes, that would be great.
Yeah. So it is problematic, and we also do understand from a student point of view, if their English isn't their mother tongue and they're writing a dissertation in English, that it's going to be tricky. But what I can say is the supervisor training course that we run with, and it's particularly Professor Chrissy Bowie, puts a lot of emphasis on the role of the supervisor in writing support, which is quite interesting. And her stance is that, yeah, supervisors should be, modeling the correct approach to writing, not literally grammatically, but you know, how one approaches writing, and the editing only comes towards the end once you've got the ideas in place. And yeah, so anybody who's thinking about how their role in supervision and writing support is, I also encourage you to, if you are a supervisor, to sign up for our course. But yeah, it's a big one. It's a big one because we don't always see ourselves as writers. Very often students sign up because they want to be researchers and they want to expand, you know, the knowledge capacity, and they don't necessarily see themselves as writers. But in order to convey the findings and the whole argument of your thesis or dissertation, you do need to have basic writing skills. Okay. All right. I see Kristen has added the link to the article there. So the original article is in Afrikaans, and then on our website, we've just got the summarized or sort of abbreviated version in English for those who can't access the Afrikaans.
Much appreciated, Alison. Thank you.
Yes. Yes, I see Zanele's hand is up.
Hi, Alison. I would like to go back to the question about registration. Is there an like a deadline of when you need to be registered as a student?
I'm going to let Dorothy answer.
Thank you, Zanele. So yes, there is. If you are a new master's or doctoral student, you have until the end of, I think it's the 28th of March to be registered. And I think that they do also have a little bit of a grace period thereafter. But if you can try to regard 28 March as your absolute deadline, it would be useful. Otherwise, if you are a continuing student, so you were a master's student last year and you're continuing, or PhD, you should pretty much have been registered by now. But under the circumstances that people have been experiencing this year with huge systems difficulties and so forth, they are being a little bit lenient on deadlines as well. So for an undergraduate student, classes have started already, so they have to be much harder on those deadlines. But on the other hand, if you are, as I said, a returning full research master's student, it's not like you have to be in a classroom. So there is a little bit of leniency. Does that answer your question? Does that help you?
Yes, thank you. It helps me a lot. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
All right. Are there any more questions? We will be sharing the slide handout version of this presentation. Our DRD colleagues will be sharing it with you. Yes, Dorothy.
Sorry, I do see, I think Kristen is talking to Melissa in the chat about her difficulties with access. I think it's SunLearn related.
Chris, is this to do with the supervisor training course or just general access to SunLearn?
From what I understand, I think it's just general access, but I've popped a response in the chat. And Melissa, I'll also pop our email address there. So if you get stuck, you're welcome to email us and we can maybe assist you or forward you onto the colleague who can assist.
Okay, what I can say is that SunLearn has been under immense pressure with the traffic the last few days. You may have noticed you keep getting an error. I know I've been struggling to update a course, so it might be that one needs to give it a day or so until they, or even try after hours when there's less traffic. Yeah, these systems are wonderful when they work, but of course do take strain with the numbers. All right, are those the only questions? Good. So as I said, we'd share the handout. In the handout, you'll get links to our websites. The resources, what I could perhaps mention, Prof. Brzeski, is that your students who aren't fully registered yet, there are a number of resources that are on our website that are sort of open access that students can have a look at. Some of them are on SunLearn, so they won't have access to that, but we do give some links, for example, with the for writing support. We refer students who aren't yet registered to the Enhancing Postgraduate Environments website, which has a number of resources on it that helps guide students on the nature of academic writing, and yeah.
Thanks.
So
I'll take a look, Alison.
Yes. So there are all those things. Good. And then if that is all, I'd like to thank you for attending, and I hope that it was cohesive enough for you to gain some new knowledge and perhaps to be reminded of things that you had perhaps forgotten. And yeah, you're welcome to press on our button anytime when you need assistance, whether it's for your student or for yourself.